Hi, I'm Mally Shansfeld, Managing Editor of Endodontic Practice US, a MedMark publication. Welcome to a live presentation and question and answer with Dr. Garth Hatch. In our webinar today, we'll be exploring the 4 pillars of practice success and how these can help make 2018 your practice's best year ever. We will discuss the importance of a rockstar team with an ownership mentality, a great practice environment space with the right equipment, technology, and tools to increase speed and efficiency in your work, and how to rev up your practice machine with more referrals and marketing. Before we get started, I'd like to invite viewers to use the question box in your control panel to ask any questions that you have, and your questions will be answered at the end of the session. I'm pleased to introduce our guest for today, Dr. Garth Hatch. Dr. Garth W. Hatch is president and founder of Dental Specialists Institute, a dental consulting firm committed to helping specialists receive more referrals, profits, and freedom. He coaches endodontists and their teams to better leverage their time, space, and efforts to help minimize stress and maximize results. He's a native of Riverside, California, earned a bachelor's degree in exercise physiology from Brigham Young University, and his DDS from Indiana University School of Dentistry. Following graduation from dental school, Dr. Hatch entered the U.S. Army Dental Corps and completed a 1-year AEGD residency at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and later completed an endodontic residency program at Fort Gordon, Georgia. After serving in Germany, he left the military and purchased an endodontic practice in Kennewick, Washington, where he still practices. Despite moving to a competitive dental market, he grew a solo endodontic practice into a successful 3-doctor group practice with continual growth year after year. Dr. Hatch has authored several articles relating to endodontics and has lectured both nationally and internationally. He is dedicated to helping specialists create the practice of their dreams and achieve more abundance and freedom. When not working, Dr. Hatch enjoys spending time with his wife, Alyssa, and their 5 children. He also enjoys the outdoors, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and traveling. Dr. Hatch, we turn the webinar over to you to learn more about our topic for today, the 4 pillars of practice success.
All right, let me get this up and running for you. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I know it's tough, especially on a weekday sometimes, to be in one of these, but want to make sure it's worth your while and cover some good information for you. We're testing out the PowerPoint too as we were going, and it seems like sometimes everything's perfect till it's not when you're running it. And let's see if it's going to work for us. So thanks again for being here. Okay, come on now. Let's see. Okay. Just a promise too, I know we can't get our time back, so my goal with this is to provide some really useful information you can take to your practice tomorrow and start applying things that will help you, your team, and just life in general. And with this slide, I asked the question, have you ever wondered what it'd be like to wake up in the morning where you're excited to go to the practice, you're looking forward to being with your team, where you guys work well together, your team's well trained, they know exactly what they're doing, things are done by design, not by default, your practice is growing, you're meeting your financial obligations and beyond, stress-free, time with family, time for the practice, that things are going well. That is possible, and that's something that we want to kind of cover today in ways that you can get there. Who am I? I'm the president founder of Dental Specialists Institute. I've been doing exclusively endodontics since 2005, but purchased a practice in Kennewick, Washington in 2010, so for the past 7 years. Was able to grow the solo practice by 60% the first year, and then with year after year growth since then, we now have 3 full-time endodontists. Enjoy what we're doing. It's in a competitive market, but we've still been able to grow. And a big thing of why I'm doing what I do as a consultant is I really just achieve, enjoy seeing others achieve and receive personal financial freedom. It's something that practice was a struggle for me, especially the first couple years, and there's a lot of difficult things. And it doesn't have to be that way, and that's where I was able to do a lot of dumb things and a lot of things right in practice. And one thing I did right was I was able to get some good coaches early on. This is a couple of them, Ace Gorig and his brother-in-law, Todd Holmes, with Endomastery. Huge help when I was starting off. When you're starting off, you don't know what you don't know, if you guys can relate to that. And it was really helpful to kind of get some systems set up with the practice and growing. Since then, I've worked with several different consultants, both in the dental industry and business-related, marketing-related. Some were better than others, but all of them I was able to, get some good knowledge from and try and apply it specifically to the realm of endodontics and a specialty practice. This is a word I, came up with term to talk about the 4 pillars of practice success. There's a lot of things important to growing a practice and doing well in endodontics or any specialty practice for that matter. But there are 4 pillars that you have to have right. One is your team, your environment, your referrals, and marketing. With that term to remember term. And each one of those are so important in their own right. That if you have one but you don't have the other, then it usually doesn't work. And it's critical to have all 4 at the same time. And in practice, we all know there's a lot of problems. A recent study in 2013 by the ADA found that about 78% of all specialists saw a decline in their practice over the past couple of years. And this trend is continuing where a lot of specialty practices are slowing down. We're facing more competition, not only from other specialists in a lot of the big markets, but even smaller markets we're feeling a lot more. And also just competition essentially from our referring dentists, where a lot of them are being more of a super general dentist because they're slower, and so they're doing more cases themselves, and we're seeing fewer referrals. There's also challenges, like this guy here, where we may know what we need to do, but it's just kind of hard to implement things. I'm sure you could relate to this, and I've been guilty of it many times, where I go to a CE class or a course or a webinar, get some great information, great ideas. I'm excited to go to the practice and apply them, and I get back the next day or Monday, maybe share a few ideas with the staff, and by Wednesday, Friday the next week, it's all gone, and it never gets applied. And that's a struggle that a lot of us face, is not only taking the knowledge but really implementing it, where the rubber meets the road to get the team on board with it. First of all, with the first pillar is team. You do want to have a well-trained, kick butt, engaged, committed team, I say, where they really know what they're doing and they have defined responsibilities. I know I was guilty of this, and a lot of endodontists are. When we start in private practice, we are wearing a lot of hats, and we feel like we've got to do everything and end up doing nothing great because we're just running like chickens with our head cut off. We're not getting it all done. Our team's there. They're kind of doing what they think they should be doing and want to help, but they've really never had their roles defined of what they're supposed to be doing, and so they're sometimes a little timid to really jump out and take the lead. And that's something where we want to make sure that our team has specific roles and responsibilities so they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. Example, in our office, we have an office manager. She's primarily responsible for the tracers and the collections with our insurance. We have other receptionists that do the same thing, but at the end of the day, Nikki's the one that's ultimately responsible. We have a lead assistant that is in charge of scheduling all the assistants when time off happens. If somebody's sick, is the office covered? Rarely do I have to be bothered with that, where they call me up and say, hey, we don't have an assistant, because it's taken care of. I want them to let me know if somebody is going to be gone, but I'm not the one coordinating who else is going to cover the office. And that's his role and responsibility, and I let him take the lead on that unless there's a problem. We have somebody that schedules the patients, a chief scheduler, somebody who's in charge of ordering the supplies. Another person is in charge of helping to audit the records at the end of the day, make sure everything was charted, and if not, to talk to the doctor assistant about a certain patient if something wasn't charted. By having all these things, it really helps to simplify my life, and I'm not feeling like I've got to do everything because everybody's got their own roles and responsibilities. I also like having bonus systems. I'll cover this a little bit more, but I'm a big fan of bonus systems in a practice. You can't motivate your team for long term with just money, because that gets old after a while. It's got to be more than just that. It's got to be the culture in the practice. It's got to be the vision, having fun in the practice. But bonus systems are a nice way to kind of keep score and keep everybody's eye on the prize and where we're really ultimately wanting to go. And when the team gets a bonus, the doc definitely gets a bonus, because the way it's set up, if it's set up right, everybody should win when the practice does well. And that's the goal with a bonus system if it's set up right. We do a training, in-office training with our Rockstar team training. Rockstar is standing for results, ownership, customer service, excellence. Kaizen, which is a Japanese word meaning constant, never-ending improvement. Systems, which are so critical in a practice. Having a team player in your office, everybody's being a team player. Action, where nothing changes till somebody acts and things get moving. Resolve, where the whole team resolves to make a change if needed, or just resolve to give it 100% with whatever they're doing. Whether they're going to be at your office for another 6 months or another 60 years, it really doesn't matter. The bottom line is while they're there to really have a desire to do their very best. And then serve. Ultimately, we're all servants as specialists and healthcare providers, and we want to have that attitude where we're there to serve our patients, our referring offices, and each other. I really like to compare this to a team of Navy SEALs, where these elite teams, they're put together and they train together as a team for years and years. And each one has their own defined role and responsibility. For example, one may be the land navigation person, another one's a sniper, another one is in charge of communications. They've all got their own little roles and responsibilities that they're in charge of. Well, when push comes to shove, they're in these crazy scenarios, everybody knows what their role is, and it doesn't matter what their rank is. If somebody's in charge of the communications, that's kind of their baby, and everybody on the team looks to them. If somebody's a sniper, everybody's looking to them to fulfill their own role and have each other's backs. And when a dental practice is set up this way, where everybody has a defined role and responsibility, and they're able to fulfill that and also take responsibility for that, not only does it help relieve a lot of stress from the specialist, from the doc, but it also gives the team a much more invested feeling in the practice, because they have their specific role where they know if they don't do it, then things can go wrong and the buck stops with them. So they really take a sense of ownership. Here's our team. A recent picture. We're by the Columbia River. It's a beautiful area. But each one of our team members, has their own role. There's the 3 docs. I'm the bald one on the the top left there on the screen. But amazing team. We work well together. We play well together and have fun. We've got a marketing coordinator where that's her sole role is working as our marketing coordinator, being our ambassador for the practice, and it's fun. We get along well. We have activities together. We typically have a yearly retreat every year where we plan at the beginning of the year or next year and go over different training that we have to do. Christmas parties and summer barbecues and other things like that where we do as a team. We love our logo. If you don't have a good logo, I'd recommend your practice has a good logo, and you can kind of wear it with pride, almost like you're wearing a Nike or Reebok or whatever else symbol. It's your practice logo, and our team loves. We'll get them jackets or shirts, and they wear it around town and are proud of where they work. That top left, that's my partner and I. We took some referring dentists to a fun playoff Seahawks game. Hopefully they get there again this year. We'll see. But it's just a fun way to, when you've got a great team that works well together, you can handle easy cases and difficult cases alike, and you just kind of keep rolling as a team because you have each other's backs. Also able to serve your patients great. This is one of our amazing patients. He was more than willing to let me share his testimonial, but he also used to be a former Ringling Brothers clown, but just an amazing guy. And when we're all working as a team, we can give our patients amazing care and service. This is a big take home of the night, is that leverage equals freedom. You know, anywhere you can find leverage in your life, it's going to really help you get to where you want to be. There's leverage in your investments, you know, when leverage, you can leverage real estate when you buy a house. You know, typically you're not paying cash for it. You're using other people's money, you know, a lot of times to purchase something. Leverage in sports, you know, I enjoy Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's a big, you know, part of leverage. Leveraging your body to, you know, a smaller, weaker opponent can beat a bigger, stronger opponent with leverage. And the biggest source of leverage you have in your practice is your team. You know, there's a lot of areas where you have leverage. Your equipment, your space. We're going to cover those all, but your team is really the biggest source of leverage you have. And the big thing when you have leverage is you're able to have more time for yourself, for your loved ones. I remember, you know, the first several years in practice, it was tricky. I was doing well in the practice. It started growing, and you know, I kind of prided myself as being the guy that see patients when they needed it. So I was, excuse me, you know, working at crazy hours, coming in even on weekends at times, helping out a referring dentist. But I felt like my patient or my family was kind of suffering it because of that. I was missing birthday parties and you know, sporting activities and other things like that I really wanted to be to, and it was because I was kind of doing it all myself, and it just didn't work. And when I was able to leverage not only my team but also additional docs, which I'll tell you up front, I'm a big fan of having a multi-doctor specialty practice. I think you're able to serve the patients better, and you're able to have a better life, and I think be more profitable. There's a big tailwind on practices going to multi-doctor practices, both in the general dentist and specialists. And there's pros and cons to that, but I can definitely tell you the pros in my opinion. I think the pros far outweigh the cons if it's done right. Okay, next step is your environment. You know, what do you think of when I say environment? There's lots of different thoughts that come to mind. First of all, your practice location. You know, where is your practice? Is it in a big box type, you know, office with multiple professionals? You know, you're on the third floor in the left corner of a big building. Is it a standalone building? In general, I'm a big fan of standalone buildings if it's possible, where you have road exposure, you can advertise, you have a nice big sign out front. It's easier for patients to get to. That's not always possible in every market, you know, especially larger markets. That's difficult to find, but that's ideal if you can. But even if you can't, you want to make sure that your location is easy to find, plenty of parking, easy for patients to get in and out. Next one's your office design. And I challenge each one of you, especially if you're not at your practice, to tomorrow or Monday, whenever you go to your practice, walk in like you're a patient going there for the first time. It's not something you see every single day, but you're there for the first time, and see what it looks like. You know, is it pleasing to all five of the senses? The sign, you know, the sight, the smell. What does it smell like? Does it smell like a dental office? Does it smell pleasant? Does it smell like something stinky? You know, there's a lot of things that people don't notice, and especially when we work in the same place day after day. And when our patients see it, they're seeing it for the first time. You know, they notice the cobwebs in the corner, or the dirt on the carpet, or little things that you may not notice that we really need to make sure we're keeping an eye on, and that the office is inviting. I like to say, you know, if your reception room furniture is not as nice as the furniture in your living room at your house, it's probably time to do some upgrades. This is where you're making your money. Your office should look beautiful. It doesn't have to be, you know, Taj Mahal, you know, gold-plated faucets or anything crazy, but it should be clean. It should look modern and pleasant. Your office capacity. You know, do you have enough chairs? It's hard when sometimes we'll go and help a doctor that's trying to grow his practice, and he's got one or two operatories. He could be the best endodontist, periodontist in the world, and if you're working out of one or two ops, good luck. There's only so much you can grow because you've got a bottleneck on your growth. You want to have plenty of operatories to be able to grow. I compare this to, you know, grocery chains. next time you go to the grocery store, I don't care if it's, Safeway or Walmart or Winco or Kroger or anywhere else, when you go to a grocery store, look at how many checkout lines there are. Most of the time there's like, a dozen, 2 dozen checkout lines, and there's only 3 or 4 open for the most part at any given time. Why is that? It's not because they've got huge profit margins. Grocery stores operate at a very thin profit margin, but they've done studies to know that there's certain times of the day, it may only be 5 to 10 days a year, when they're going to be using all those checkout lines, before the Super Bowl or 4th of July weekend or Black Friday, whatever it is. When they are able to use all those checkout lines at those times, that it more than pays for having that extra space go dormant, essentially for a big chunk of the year. And in dental offices, especially an endodontist, we have pretty good profit margins, and some people, they are trying to save a penny and miss out on a dollar by not having adequate space for their practice. Equipment and technology is another big one. I'm a big fan of finding the best technology and equipment out there and investing in it for your practice. I don't like buying every gadget that comes out, because sometimes it doesn't really help make your life more efficient. But when it does, it's so worth the money. This is a picture of my partner showing a patient the 3D cone beam that we have. That was a huge investment, but it was an amazing investment. My only regret to buying a cone beam machine was that I didn't buy it sooner, because of what I can see now. And there's many areas where you can find leverage in your practice, in your burrs, your handpieces, your files. One that I found was the Tri-Hawk Talon burrs. What brought me on to the Talon burrs was I had several times where I was doing apicos and had a surgical break while I'm doing apicos. If any of you do more than 1 or 2 apicos a year, you can probably relate to that and have had that experience happen. Brand new burr, and the dang thing breaks at the shank. And when you're dancing around the sinus or near the mental nerve or other areas, or even just the concern that the patient may aspirate the burr, it's a scary thing when a burr breaks and you're doing an apico. No rubber dam, nothing else. And so I heard about the Talon burrs and bought those specifically for the surgical burrs, and became a huge fan. I mean, they're fantastic cutting burrs, very efficient, and they're very strong. Usually when burrs break, it's at the shank, and they've got proprietary design where it's a very strong shank. I recommend surgical burrs, one-time use, including with the Talon burrs. It's just not worth the risk, and you're dealing with a fresh burr every time that's going to perform optimum, and it's money well spent. This is a video I did just this week with my iPhone. Hopefully it cooperates, but this is accessing. It's the Talon 10 burr, and we're accessing through a porcelain fused to metal crown, and it's fantastic. I mean, any burr can chip a porcelain fused to metal burr or a crown, including a diamond burr. But I have not yet had a Talon 10 burr crack porcelain on a porcelain fused to metal. Knock on wood. I'm sure eventually it may happen, but so far it's been fantastic. They're less expensive than the diamonds. They're not meant for zirconium crowns, so that's the one thing. With zirconium crowns, still recommend using using diamonds for zirconium crowns. And Talon, Tri-Hawk Talon has their own diamond burrs as well. So, but anyhow, here's a little video of the access here. See if it cooperates for us. I apologize, it's a little bit jumpy right here, but start to finish, we were in and out in about 30 seconds, able to refine the margins with both the metal and the porcelain. And that was the biggest benefit I found, is I didn't have to, typically I'd go through the porcelain with a diamond burr, take the diamond off, put a carbide in to cut through the metal, sometimes then switch back to the diamond or a round burr as I'm getting close to the pulp. So I was doing a lot of burr switching. With this, it's start to finish. You can use one burr, and even if it saved me, 15, 20 seconds a case, you add that up over a year, that's money well spent. And the best part, it's cheaper than the diamonds, so you're saving on both ends. Next step is referrals, and the R in term. Referrals are definitely your lifeblood in the practice. Most referral generating, practices are like a roller coaster where, specialists are so guilty of this, including myself, especially at the beginning of my practice, where things would be slow, so I'd go out and do all I could to really, boost up the referrals, taking guys to lunch and bringing goodies and things like that, and things would get busy, and I'd be at chair side and I'd be running, and then they'd get really busy, and I'd had no time for marketing because I'm running like crazy trying to just keep up with all the patients, and then things will start to slow down again, and I'm like, what's going on? So then I go out and start doing more marketing, and it just became like a roller coaster where it was going up and down. And you want to have referral systems in your practice. You definitely want to hire a marketing coordinator. This marketing coordinator could be an employee in the practice. It could be your spouse. It could be, a stay-at-home mom that just wants to, work a couple hours a month. Really, a really good marketing coordinator in as little as 10 to 20 hours a month could make a big difference. The bigger the practice, probably the busier she's going to be, and we'll be doing more hours than that. But it's money so well spent if it's done right. You want somebody that's a people person. They can bond with the referring offices, and I just say they're an ambassador in the practice. They're basically bringing happiness, where they've got a schedule, and month after month they're bringing goodies, fun little contests that we do. They're always doing fun little things that is planned out a year in advance, so that things are going to be happening on a regular basis, and the doctor's not the one driving that. If the doctor's driving the train, it just doesn't happen, and it's going to be mishmash, your whole time you're in practice. But if you can get somebody that can really coordinate that, it takes a big load off of you, and you're going to see the growth results as well. A monthly newsletter. I'm a huge fan of newsletters. If it's done right, it should be customized. It should, kind of spotlight your own team and your referring offices teams. Make them celebrities. When there's local events at, the Dental Society meeting, or you guys have an event, an open house, whatever it is, take pictures. Even when you go on trips, you go fishing, camping, whatever, take pictures, put them on your newsletter. Our newsletter is more fun. We do little contests in the newsletter. We do a case of the month at the back, so it does kind of spotlight our nice endodontic work, with a case of the month. But otherwise, it's not a clinical journal. If you make it boring, nobody's going to read it. You also need a paper copy. It's so easy to delete a digital copy of a newsletter. I mean, you think how many emails you get every day and how fast it is to do an email delete. You want the newsletter to be sitting on the referring office's break room table or at the front desk, somewhere where it kind of has some sticking power for a couple days or weeks. Frequent touches. Referrals and marketing are very intertwined, but I kind of compare, separate them because they are a little bit of a different animal. I talk about marketing is everything that happens before you get a referral, before they actually walk into your door for treatment. And referral systems are everything that happens after that fact. Once the patient does walk in, what are you doing to keep in contact with those referring offices? What are you doing to bring happiness to them, to bring goodies, to make their lives easier? Follow-up reports. What's the communication like? Are you doing digital follow-up reports? Paper follow-up reports? And either way, is it what the referring offices want? You want to make sure you're giving them what they want, not just what you want to give. And lastly, just building great relationships. Referrals, as in life, is all about relationships. You want to build strong relationships where you are helping to solve your referring office's problems. Anytime you can solve their problems, it just cements that relationship where they wouldn't want to go anywhere else. And there's many different ways to do that, but it's critical. And the biggest way to find ways is just asking the question, what can I do to make their lives easier? Here's you know, one of our great Mike, one of our better referring offices. We went to a Seahawks game here. Oh, darn it did flip. But if you can see the ball in the air, he pulled out his camera. He's like, I bet you're going to get a touchdown right now, and started filming in slow-mo. And sure enough, gets the ball, touchdown. Goes back into normal speed here in just a second. But what an amazing experience, you know. And you know, fun little things like that where you can find ways to bond with your referring offices and docs. It just makes it fun. I mean, is it the end-all be-all? Of course not. Do you have to do good work? Absolutely. I mean, doing good work, some people say no, I'm just going to do good work and that's all I need. As a specialist, especially nowadays, doing good work just gets you in the door. I mean, if you're not doing good work as an endodontic specialist, you should either pick up your skills really fast or maybe find another profession, because you're expected to do good work. But it's the little things you do above and beyond that really make a difference. Here's an example of one of our newsletters here. We had an open house, just fun little pictures of that. You know, some of the referring docs there in the pictures, Sudoku puzzle, little contest, just fun things, you know, upcoming events in our area. Some Easter baskets that we gave. This sign that got toothache, that was an example of one of my bad marketing moves. A marketing guy said, oh, you need to put these signs all over town, you know. So I got these signs, you know, $50 off any root canal. Guess how many calls I got the first month? If you're saying 0 or 1, you're right. I didn't get a single call from the sign. Second month, you know, he said, oh, you got to put more signs up. So we doubled the signs out there all over town. Same deal, another goose egg, not a single referral from the sign. So definitely learned things that worked well and things that didn't. You know, and like I said, I did a lot of dumb things. I am by no means any kind of business genius. I just credit myself if the one thing I did do right was I just tried a lot of things, and I saw what stuck and what didn't. And the things that worked, we just kept doing over and over and over. The things that didn't, we stopped. And that's what we help our referring offices, our referring offices to grow, but that's what we help our clients with the Dental Specialists Institute to do in their practices, to really get those cemented and just do the things that work. Marketing, you know, as Fred Joyle says, everything is marketing, and it's so true. Marketing is your office, how it looks, how the phone's answered, how the team interacts with the front desk, you know, how your front desk interacts with their front desk, customer service, how you treat the patient. Luckily, we do get a lot of repeat patients where they came and saw us in the past, had a great experience, and they need another root canal even a year, 2, 5 years down the road. And they may have even been referred to another office, but they come and see us directly because they remember having a good experience. When you're doing that, you know you're doing things right. Office brand and culture. You know, you want to have a good office culture where you have a defined vision for the practice. You know, you need to have input from the team or there's no buy-in. And that's something that you may want to have an office retreat where you kind of discuss the office culture. What do you want us to be known for in the community? Ultimately, the CEO, you know, the owner of the practice has to be the visionary. You have to have a vision and lead, whether you like it or not, because otherwise everybody's just kind of filling their role by default, not by design. So you do need to kind of set the tone, but then you want to invite your team to help put their input so that everybody kind of feels a sense of ownership within the practice. And, you know, is your brand in the area, is it known for professionalism, for fun, for being a little quirky, for you know, whatever it is, you want your brand to be known in that community. Guarantees, you know, this is a fun one that you know, I bring up when we're doing training with offices. You know, can you guarantee your work? You know, ask the question, you know, rhetorically to you guys out there. No, you can't. In my opinion, you can't guarantee that you're always going to get you know, a perfect result, because we can't guarantee what the tooth's coming in like. Is it cracked? Is there, you know, is there restorability issues? There's all kinds of factors before they even walk into our door that make a guarantee difficult. But I do say guarantee what you can. We can guarantee the result, that we're going to do everything we can to give them a clear view of the prognosis of the tooth, if we feel it's worth trying to save or not, doing the right thing, even when turning down work just because it's not really the right thing to do, as long as they understand the risk benefits of both extraction versus saving the tooth with a root canal. And also, one guarantee we do is we say if a case fails within the first year, then we'll cover the extraction. That doesn't mean bone graft and exam and everything else, but we do feel like it's a way where we've generated a lot more referrals or a lot more patients compliance because of that, and referrals because the referring dentists really like that, because at least even cases that are a little compromised, we give them the options and say, here's the risk benefits. It may not work, but there's a 60% chance of work, 20%, 80%, 90%, whatever it is. And I also, say that with that said, your tooth is either going to be 100% success or 0% because it's going to either work or it's not for your tooth. But in general, a case like this that we've seen in the past, I'd probably give it a 50-50 or a 80 or a 90% success rate, and then let them choose if they want to try and save it. But a lot of times when they know they have that option of having the extraction covered, and you're talking, usually it's $200 to $400 depending on your area, and if you're charging $1,200 to $1,500 for a root canal, it's money well spent because most of the time you don't have to do it. Luckily, that endodontics is very successful, but it does help give people peace of mind, and it's a big referral generator because referring offices appreciate that. The phones. This is one where I'd be willing to bet majority of the offices out there and the majority of people on this phone call are losing money every month because of the way the phones are answered. Not to belittle anyone in your staff that's answering the phone. It's just a lot of times they don't know what they don't know. And an example is somebody may call and ask, how much is a root canal? Well, as we all know, even if you know it's a molar root canal is not a root canal. Is that tooth a retreat? Is it a first-time endodontic treatment? Do they have insurance? Your fee may be whatever, $1,200, $1,300, but their out-of-pocket may only be $150. And so if we say, okay, our root canal's $1,200. They called the other office and they said it was $300. They may go to the other office even though you may be less expensive. So it's very critical that the front desk know how to handle questions when they get questions like that, especially when people are price shopping, accessibility. All those things are important to know. With how to handle the phones, how do you get patients in quick when they need to, handle how they handle the schedule. Just phone skills are critical, and it's an easy place where offices can quickly generate more revenue when the phones are answered properly. Some other funny marketing things we're doing, another newsletter, giving cherry baskets out. In the summertime, we're in Washington, so we got a lot of fresh Washington cherries and grapes, and a lot of vineyards out there that we give out. Goodie baskets. We've hired an ice cream truck that'll go to the referring offices, and in the summer the offices love that. They get free ice cream, and it doesn't cost that much, but it's a fun way to just get out there and provide value to the patients. One other note on the guarantees, just I've learned from a good experience and a bad experience on guarantees, and especially when you're dealing with cracked teeth as an endodontist, which is something we always struggle with. I'd probably say 25% of all the cases we see right now deal with cracks. And early on in my career, I remember seeing a patient. She was a nurse, happened to be a nurse too, but had a cracked tooth, cracked molar. Said it was cracked, recommended extraction. I didn't say she couldn't do the root canal, but I recommended extraction because it was cracked. She ended up going to another office in town, had the root canal done, and then put a nasty gram on our office website. Like we misdiagnosed her, and thank goodness she got a second opinion because they did the root canal, we didn't. Well, I learned from there that ultimately it's the patient's responsibility to choose if they want to try and save it or not. Especially, we need to give them the options, I mean, if it's clearly a 0%, success rate, then you got to tell them that and have that hard conversation. But I've had a case where I'd probably say it was a 10 to 20% success rate. It was a patient referred from an office, a very wealthy lady in our area. There's a lot of wineries and vineyards, and very wealthy lady, owner of a winery in her 80s. The referring office dentist said, "Hey, I know you probably think it should come out, but she really wants to try and save it. Money's no object. She can buy my practice and your practice without batting an eye." Just to kind of give you an idea of what kind of money she has. So she wants to save it. And I said, hey, if she wants to save it, despite having an 8mm probing down the distal, then we'll try. We'll just give her, tell her that, she may get the root canal and a crown, and it still has to come out within a matter of weeks, that was the scenario we gave her, and she still wanted to try and save it. And funny thing is, 2.5 years later, she came back to our office for another tooth, and I was curious. I just took a film of that tooth, and by golly, that tooth was still there 2.5 years later. The lesions apically had healed. There was still the distal bone loss from that 8mm probing, but she was grateful the tooth was still there, and it was a success. So we need to keep that in mind when we're giving patients options. Having a fun team environment where the practice does feel like they're a team. This is we did an open house, and it was around Halloween. We all got team jerseys with the number 12 for the Seahawks, but just some fun things that help bond your office to feel like they're a team. We do lots of different training in our coaching programs. The biggest one is we do a 1-year program for specialists, in particular endodontists, where we help them in all aspects of their practice, referral-wise, office efficiency. If they're doing a transition, bringing on an associate or partner, helping with factors with that, with their collections, production, referral patterns, staff training, everything. But that's not always a right fit for everybody. In fact, we can't work with everybody just time-wise, and also we've got an area exclusive deal with where we are working with somebody at our higher end program that we can't work with another office in that same geographic area, just so there's no conflict of interest. But we do also have a home study course called our Rockstar Office DVD and CD training, where this is where we do our Rockstar team training and also the phone mastery, which that alone, when you talk about the importance of the phones, most offices are probably losing anywhere from $3 to $10 grand a month by the phones not being answered properly. When those phones are corrected and your staff knows what to say, what a huge difference that makes. We do a mystery patient recorded phone calls when people buy the home study course, where that way you can know how the phones are answered. I was amazed. We had this done, and I was amazed just some of the things that were being said that I did not want them to say certain things. They just didn't realize it. It wasn't that they were trying to do anything wrong. They just didn't know. And so if you don't know what's being said, and most of the time you don't, your head's in somebody's mouth, it's a huge benefit to, first of all, have your team trained so they know what is the right way, and then find out if they're following through. Receptionist phone certification so they can get certified in the training. With this home study course, we also do a 30-minute practice strategy session with myself. Go over your practice. What are your struggles? What's going well? What would you like to improve and add value to yourself? Whether we're a good fit for something else or not. Just trying to add value during that 30 minutes to really help any way I can with your practice. Normally, our home study course is $14.95, but for today with MedMark and Talos, Trihawk Talon Burrs, we're doing a special for $9.95. We also, I'm a fan of guarantees. We do a 90-day money-back guarantee, where if you implement at least 2 to 3 of our strategies and can sincerely say that you really try to implement them and did not get at least a 200% return on your investment, then we will give you a full refund minus shipping and handling. And can I lose money on that? Of course I can, but I think most people try to do the right thing, and I have no doubt, I'm very confident that if you put these into your practice and really implement them, you will get a huge return on your investment, much greater than 200%. But that's just a peace of mind that you know your money's going to something of value. Something we're doing, it's not typically part of the home study course, but we're also doing the 2 additional CDs, one on associateships and partnerships CD, talking about the pros, cons, and how to successfully bring on another doctor. You know, if you're a solo doc, maybe getting close to retirement or just getting tired of being beat up because you've got no one else to help cover your office, and you're looking at that may be something that you'll find a value. Also, if you're getting ready to transition, it's a good time to know about associateships and partnerships, different ways to structure things that are beneficial for you, the practice owner. Team bonus strategies. Actually, on that, one other thing on the partnership, also things that are benefit if you're an associate, either moving to a partner or you're just an associate right now and you want to find your own practice, something. A good agreement should be good for both the owner and the associate or partner. If it's bad for one and good for the other, it's no good. It should be good for both if it's done right. Next is bonus team strategies. Some of you may be interested in implementing a bonus system in your practice or more than one bonus system to really help grow your practice. I'm a big fan of bonus systems because I think there's nothing else that can really get your practice going when everybody's all aligned and know what to look for and what the score is. $300 value basically, but with those that's included in the with the $995 included with those extra webinar bonuses. TriHawk is also doing a webinar special here, 10-burr trial pack for $25. Hands down, if you buy nothing else, I'd at least try the surgical burrs because they are money well spent. But they're also nice. There's the Talon 10 and the Talon 12. I'm a big fan of the Talon 10 for going through porcelain fused to metal crowns because you can do a single access with the Talon 10. So Talon 10 or the Talon 12 surgical, I think are money well spent. You're going to save money really in the long run and stronger peace of mind. I've been a big fan of them. And lastly, will you be one of our next practice successes? We hope so, and really just hope to be of value. I make more money as an endodontist than I do as a consultant, to be totally upfront and honest, and I'm proud to say that. I'm not saying, trying to teach you something that I've never done or did it 20 years ago and it's not relevant today. I'm dealing with the same struggles that you are, and we've been able to be successful year after year, and it's something where I hope we can be of service to you. If not, no problem. Best wishes. Hope we provided good value to you today. And with that, again, if you're interested in purchasing, go to dentalspecialistI.com. Again, this dental specialist, the letter I.com. You can order it right there online, PayPal or Stripe, I believe. But that's available to order right now. And if you get it now, next, I can't remember, it's next 24 to 48 hours, you'll also get it with the webinar bonus or the bonus CDs. So again, dentalspecialistai.com for that, and trihawk.com to order your burrs and get that promotional of 10 burrs for $25. So dentalspecialistai.com or trihawk.com. And with that said, let me switch over here to get the webcam going and any questions you guys may have out there.
I'm back too. Hi, thank you, Dr. Hatch, for a really informative presentation. I have a few questions. Before we get to the questions, I'm going to invite viewers to use the question box in the control panel to ask any questions that you might have. We did have a question while you were speaking, Dr. Hatch. He said, even when you have a marketing coordinator, how often do you recommend that the doctor get out and meet with his or her referring GPs?
Great question. That's a great question. Thank you for asking, whoever asked that. I would still recommend getting out as much as you can, and that's not a real easy answer, but at least monthly, at least, ideal world, a doctor should be making contact with another referring doctor once a day. That's ideal world. Do I do that every day? I can't say I do. I really don't. But I do try to do at least 2 to 3 times a week. And that could be taking a guy to lunch. That could be we're going out shooting or fishing or something like that. That could be just a phone call, a follow-up on a patient. Something was good, something was bad, whatever. And it could be something totally unrelated to dental. We just connecting, doing something fun together. So it's critical to get out there and do that, especially in the beginning. And if you're trying to work your way into a tight market, it's even more critical because you've got to have FaceTime with the referring doc. There's no marketing coordinator can do that role, and so the doc does have to get out. With that said, once you're established in an area, your practice is going, even before that, the marketing coordinator can still be a big factor because she can be out doing, ambassador work, building love and happiness and relationships with your practice to the other referring offices while you're doing a root canal. And if you don't have that, that's hard. But great question, because there's no supplementing the doc. The doc still has to get out and do it. As it said, you can't pay somebody to do your own push-ups. I mean, you really have to do your own push-ups and get out and connect with the docs. Great question.
Okay. Besides the home study course that you offer, are there any other services that you offer?
We do. Mentioned the one our 1-year Ultimate Practice Machine program that we do a full 1 year where we help everything. We go to the offices twice, do in-office training. Some people may buy the CDs. They're up. The DVDs are awesome because you can use those DVDs, at least quarterly, if not annually, or more frequently than that. But it's something you can have in your office to show. When you hire somebody, when you do your office retreat, I would do those all the time, over and over, because that's how you really get all the team on board with how they answer the phones, how they treat the patients, with the Rockstar team training, to get everybody on board. Otherwise, it's like a good idea, everybody has it for a week or two, and then it's gone. You have to continually be training, and that's the nice thing with the DVDs. But we also do a similar training where we do it live in the office, where we come out, both a one-time deal where we come out for 1 day and help the practice, and then with our 1 year, we come out to their office twice. The first one is a 2-day, where the first day we're there almost like a fly on the wall, where we just kind of watch a normal day in the life of an endodontist, where we watch your practice, see how the phones are being answered, see how the patients are being graded at the front when they're brought back, see how the interaction is between the doc and the assistant about the patient, and just kind of look and see what's going well and what's not going well, and then make recommendations the next day to correct those. Sorry, I need a little water here. Doing too much talking. Sorry about that. But then we also help with their efficiency, the office capacity, just the office efficiency in the practice, how they're doing their scheduling. Help clinically. Some of the docs sometimes need help clinically just to speed up their speed clinically. That's something that I help directly myself with the doc to help some different clinical tips and techniques that may improve their speed. So those are the main things. The 1 year program, we do a 1 day visit in office training, and then our home study course.
Okay. Good question about your mystery patient calls. That was interesting. Is there any kind of liability related to mystery patient phone calls?
Yeah, great question. In our case, there's not. I mean, there could be. Every state's a little different, but for us, all 50 states, what we do is when people sign up for the Rockstar team training, phone mastery and ultimate patient experience, the home study course, once they purchase that, we will contact their office, send them authorizations, staff authorizations where the staff signs off that they agree to be recorded. And it's done as a monitoring thing, and we emphasize with the docs to make sure the staff knows this is not something that we want to try and get somebody fired or in trouble. This is just a way to help them get better, and that they should not be punished, because first of all, how can you punish somebody if you haven't trained them on what to do? It's something where you should not be punishing them, even if they have received the training, but they're just not quite there yet. It's something to help them all improve. And again, if they improve, the practice gets better. You're making more money. You're more referrals. The practice is growing. hopefully there's going to be more money available for the staff. Everybody wins. So it's really a win-win for across the board.
Okay. Anything else you wanted to say about the Tri-Hawk burrs and how they have improved your clinical practice, or did you cover that?
Yeah, you know, I only promote things that I use personally and believe in, because otherwise I feel like I'm not doing a service to you. And I came across the Tri-Hawk burrs on my own, like I said, from frustration with surgical cases, doing apicos, and the dang burr breaking on me. You know, when I'm in the maxillary sinus area or something like that. Knock on wood, never had a situation develop into something, where we couldn't get the burr out or swallow, or somewhere could be a lawsuit. But it was just a matter of time, I felt, before something like that might happen. And so that's what initially brought me to Tri-Hawk Talon burrs. So that, surgeries, and we use that for all of our surgical cases now. And also, I love the Talon 10 burr because it's nice to use a carbide that you can go through porcelain and metal at the same time. And so it's a one-stop burr to get your access.
Okay, those are all the questions I have for now. But if we did not get to a question that you had to our attendees, we will answer it after the webinar via email. Did you have anything else to say before I tell about our special offers? I'll reiterate.
Thanks again for coming here. If we can be of help at any time, please let us know. Our website again, dentalspecialist, the letter I.com. It's got our phone number there. Contact information. If you just like to set up a free consultation, how to take your practice to the next level, give us a call. Happy to help any way I can, or one of our coaches can. And so yeah, just thanks for coming. Love to be of value, and hope to see you at a different AE meeting or something else. So best wishes. Thanks.
And I'd like to thank you, Dr. Hatch, for a great webinar, and a special thank you to Dental Specialist Institute and our co-sponsor, Tri-Hawk. But as a special thank you for attending the webinar, Dental Specialist Institute is offering special offer to all our attendees the Rockstar Practice Home Study course, normally $1,495. With this webinar special, you pay only $995 with a 90-day money-back guarantee. Visit www.dentalspecialisti.com or see the handout within this webinar as a takeaway. There's a little handout in your control panel there, and you can print that out. And Tri-Hawk is offering all attendees a 10 burr trial pack for $25. So please go to www.coupon.trihawk.com/Tri-Hawk-burrs in order to see the handout, and then you can also see that in the handout in our
Hey, Mally.
Yes.
Hey, Mally, can I say one other thing too? Just I honestly feel like I'm doing you a disservice if you don't get the home study course, even though that sounds funny, but it's really not, because there's a money-back guarantee, and if you can't generate at least 1 to 2 extra cases in a week, let alone a month, then I'm doing you a disservice. But if you get it, implement it, most important, get your team to watch it. If you just take it home, you watch it, and don't do anything with it, nothing's going to happen. You have to have your team, because you may even know all the answers, but if your team isn't trained on it, it's just not going to improve. And it's got to be something that's done regularly. You have to continually be training, and that way it starts to become, first implemented, then a habit, and then it just keeps getting better and better. But again, it's hopefully going to be a multiple return on your investment. So thank you.
Thank you, and making a rock star team. That's why you have to be all together on the same page, I suppose.
Exactly.
But thank you again, Dr. Hatch and Dental Specialist Institute and co-sponsor Tri-Hawk, and we really appreciate the webinar, and thanks to all our attendees.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Talk to you later.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Good night.